Well, as the president considers his trip to Israel next Tuesday on the 22nd and the 23rd, Tuesday and Wednesday, he's getting a lot of things that are challenging that trip. Conflicting statements. For example, there is supposedly a Trump official in the U.S. consulate in Jerusalem, and may I say, historically, the U.S. consulate has been manned largely by Palestinians. The new ambassador to Israel may, and probably most assuredly will make changes in that. But coming out of that consulate, there was a statement saying, in response to the possibility of President Trump visiting the Western Wall, they said the Western Wall is part of the West Bank, namely part of Palestine, and it doesn't belong to Israel. That's basically what UNESCO has said. The White House has strongly denied this. But at the same time, a correspondent, Mideast correspondent for Fox News, has said that Prime Minister Netanyahu is against moving the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The White House has strongly denied that as well. Yet, Secretary of State Tillerson has just said that the embassy will not be moved. It will not be moved if it is considered to be a detriment to the peace process. Well, that remains to be seen. And there's much prayer, much concern about the president going to make his trip to Israel. I want to identify myself with the comments of a dear friend and colleague, Susan Michael, with the International Christian Embassy of Jerusalem. She has made a statement with which I strongly concur. She said this: U.S. Congress approved the Jerusalem Embassy Act of 1995, declaring Jerusalem to be the undivided capital of Israel and calling for the U.S. Embassy to be moved there. As a political compromise, a provision was included that allowed the President of the United States to delay moving the embassy due to national security considerations. That waiver has been signed every 6 months by each president since 1995. Nobody's allowed it to go through, with the exception of the possibility of President Trump just doing nothing and allowing it to be activated. President Trump has said he will. He has promised that in his campaign promises, and he's reiterated it as president. He said that he will move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. The question is whether he will keep his campaign promise and actually move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. There's a serious decision because a move could ignite a major reaction. It no doubt will, among liberals especially, and much of the Muslim world. But there are few reasons why now may be the time to move the U.S. Embassy to Israel's capital city, namely Jerusalem. First, if anyone can do it, Trump can do it. No one expects him to operate within the confines of political correctness, nor be swayed by the threats and negative reactions like establishment politicians would have been. Therefore, reactions to such a move may be subdued. In addition, many world leaders, including Arab leaders, want to start out on the right foot with this new and ambitious administration. They will not sacrifice that relationship over the address of the U.S. Embassy. Second, the larger Muslim world is in complete disarray, with much bigger problems on their hands, such as the nuclear Shiite Iran, and the threat of ISIS taking over their countries. And third, the countries closest to Israel, posing the greatest threat, are consumed with either civil war, economic crisis, or a crippling refugee burden. The Palestinian cause is therefore much lower on their priority list these days. We're recommending, and I concur with this recommendation, that the Trump administration to quietly engage with other members of the international community before formally announcing the move of the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. These discreet contacts should be held quickly and intensely along three simultaneous tracks. First, consult closely with the Israeli government to discuss various aspects of such a move and to coordinate the necessary steps, as well as bilateral responses to any potential security challenges. Second, confer with officials in key Arab and Muslim nations to address their concerns and elicit their cooperation. And third, identify and confer with countries friendly to the U.S., and Israel, which might be open to moving their embassies to Jerusalem as well. So that's a huge task to face the president as he goes there next Tuesday. But I would remind him, and I would remind us of the promises that God has made. For example, he tells us with regard to Zion, with regard to Jerusalem, Israel, Jerusalem especially, he says this in Isaiah chapter 49, verse 15, "Can a mother forget the baby nursing at her breast? Can she have no compassion on the child she has borne? Though she may forget, God says, I will not forget you. For I have engraved you on the palms of my hands. Your walls, O Jerusalem, are ever before me." That's what God says. And he says also in Isaiah chapter 62, verse 1, "For Zion's sake, I will not keep silent. For Jerusalem's sake, I will not remain quiet. Until her righteousness shines like the dawn, her salvation like a blazing torch." That's the future of Jerusalem.